Yes, guys, video 2 since I have arrived here in Dubai. It's now 3.5 weeks that I've been here. In the first video last week, I talked about just the move over here with getting settled in and finding an apartment and all the trials and tribulations of building a routine and missing the family. But today I want to talk about a specific subject because the whole point of this channel, this journey, is about running through what it costs to really pursue something awesome and escaping the grind and building the life that you really want, right? So I want to talk specifically today about why most men stay stuck and what I've done to break free and what I think the main challenges are for men who want to make that same transition. And I'm hoping that me sharing these experiences in the live with you might just give you some information to take action, or I don't know, it could bring some value to the way you view your own journey and the decisions you want to make moving forward. So enough of that rambling. Why do most men stay stuck? Well, I don't think it's very rarely due to a lack of potential. It's usually because people lack the ability to follow through, and ultimately I think fear of the unknown gets the better of people. One of the biggest traps a lot of guys fall into is really hyping up an idea and getting gratification from the micro conversations they have on a daily or weekly basis with their nearest and dearest. They get a kick out of telling people about their plans, and a lot of psychological studies actually show that there is a lived-in experience when we tell people our goals, to the point where it actually diminishes from our motivation and desire to pursue said goal, because we already derive pleasure from just simply explaining to people and watching their little micro reactions. So that's one thing, the more you talk about your goals, the less likely it's going to happen. Another trap people fall into is just this idea that they have so much time. They believe there's an endless opportunity for them to go and pursue their goals. And it's a comfort that you fall into, thinking, oh, I'll do it next year or I'll do it the year after. It's this obsession with finding the right time. And if anything I've learned, given the conditions under which I've made this move, there is no right time. And there's only the time to commit and make it right. I think comfort and predictability of routines are the biggest enemy though. We all divert to comfort and predictability as opposed to the fear of the unknown. It's better the devil we know than the devil we don't, as the saying goes. And people often downplay the relative upsides and exaggerate or inflate the downsides, thinking that failure in a pursuit of anything is absolute. The reality is, of course, you're going to have fear about making big moves, if that's going for a new job or changing where you live or whatever, starting a business. But the real reality is you will figure it out. Either it goes well and you succeed, or you fail, but you learn. And that's really been my mentality coming into this, is I'm going to give everything I've got. I don't have infinite time. And the best that can happen here is it goes exactly how I want. The worst is I throw myself in a situation where the environment forces such personal growth due to the number of stresses and challenges that I'm going to encounter, that it will put me in a really good position for my next move. I think environment, both the environment that you're in right here and now and the one you're intending to move into, are absolutely crucial. One of my closest friends over here said to me words to the effect, and I paraphrase a little bit, but it was something like, it's not necessarily how good you are at the game you're playing, but the board you're playing on. And that really speaks to this idea of how impactful environment is, not least in terms of the return on effort, depending on where you live and who you're around. Most importantly, the influence and energy that you get from the people around you. If you are currently in an environment where the energy and environment is facilitating your personal growth, it's challenging you, it's testing you, then it's very unusual that people are going to feel the need to move elsewhere for personal development. If conversely, you're in a place where people are slowly moving through their lives, if they diminish your big ideas and your ambitions, if they find issues in your dreams, if you are in a compressed and restrictive, constraining environment, it is absolutely fundamental that you identify that and make a conscious move out of there. That's exactly what I did. I've got some great, ambitious friends at home, but in my day-to-day, I wasn't seeing these people enough, and I really felt like there was untapped potential that I needed to explore. And I get this real kick out of being around high performers, people who push themselves, people who have ambition. It's kind of my energy, it's my people, right? And on that, I want to make it very clear, there is absolutely nothing wrong with seeking comfort and living in your own lane and doing your own thing. And, not everybody has to pursue major challenges and build epic things. Ultimately, the goal is happiness, and it's to each their own decision to decide upon the lifestyle that they want to live. But if you're like me, and if you have that calling inside you that you can do more and be more and contribute more and have a more positive impact to more people, if you want to do more, then you cannot ignore that, and time is limited. So be really cautious of who you spend your time with, who you speak to your ideas about, because for so many people, they are distrusting in the authority of their own voices and will divert to the opinions and recommendations of those around them. And if those people aren't the right people, if you're going to put forward your best ideas, and if you know objectively that they will be worth pursuing, and you'll shut down on them if you're met with a diminishing response, that could be enough to completely throw you off your course for the rest of your life. So be hyper aware of that. Be diligent when it comes to protecting your vision, and identify the fact that your social group, whether it's family or friends, has a profound impact on the life you live and the decisions you make. The world today is really strange, because once upon a time we would be occasionally massively inspired by seeing a motivational speaker or watching an amazing feat of athleticism or sport, or we would come across that peer who achieved something spectacular. Today we are flooded with motivational content. And I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, you have access to getting drive and really getting motivated, but motivation is so short-lived, and we've become so desensitized to its effect that it becomes a short-term flash-in-the-pan dose, which makes us feel great in the moment, but no longer really makes us pull the trigger for action, because we know that we could have another dose in 1 minute, or even less, 15 seconds more scrolling. So on one hand, it could become your digital circle, and it could create a conducive environment for you to take action. But on the other, it's definitely desensitizing people from the kind of trigger response to actually do something about it. I think we can all agree that radical change requires you to make radical decisions. For me, this was one of the biggest decisions, if not the biggest decision of my life, moving to a foreign country away from my family to pursue growth and development, and to reach a higher level of output, contribution, positive impact, reach, you name it. I come here to really put myself in the pressure cooker and try to make it, have my impact felt in a city which is going to demand my best. The theory being, come to the most competitive place on the planet where it's all happening, be around big hitters, winners, ambitious people, feed off of that energy, level up through osmosis by being around these people and seeing what the standard truly is. In any and all contexts, that is 100% the way here in Dubai. And so I identified the fact that it's as much about, like I said before, the board you play on, that has a huge impact in the person you become. And for me, the radical decision was actually biting the bullet and making the move away from my family, even just, for 6 months or 9 months. Hopefully it'll be around that before I can get them over here. Why did I leave everyone behind? Well, lots of reasons, mostly pragmatically. The biggest thing for me was, why would I put my family at risk of all the stress of making the move, in terms of, getting settled into a new country, getting schools sorted for the kids, moving to a country that they potentially weren't going to be keen on, that I had limited information on. I did a lot of research, but I'm learning more every day. Why put them through that stress if we were going to end up coming back home within a few weeks or months? The better way to do it is for me to be here, to establish myself, to have full focus, to try and gather some momentum, and then bring them over once things are in place and once we can be 100% certain that this is the right way to do things. The mindset that I brought into this chapter is very much a case of now or never. Embrace stress, embrace discomfort, embrace the uncertainty, embrace the journey, and see all of these challenging facets of my lifestyle as it lives through now as a waymarker to personal growth. And personal growth and development is the gateway for me to become the best that I can be. So basically it's sink or swim, and the water's moving pretty quickly. I wanted to basically force myself into a high pressure situation that would demand me to be as focused as possible, as hardworking as possible, as high output as I possibly could be, to front load what will, fingers crossed, be a shift in my professional world and my personal profile. To the point that I had the scope to build out a business and create a lifestyle that elevates the experience of life and living for my family. So the mindset is very much, this is going to really suck at first, but that's the point. Like, if it hurts, good, more this way. That's the whole point. And when it's really tough, when I'm feeling lonely, when I've got to the end of an 18, 19-hour day and I'm exhausted going to bed and I'm thinking I'm going to do this all again tomorrow, when I haven't seen my friends, I keep telling myself, like, the harder this is, the worse this feels in this moment, the better. I am achieving what I knew would happen, which is subjecting myself to some horrendous conditions of discomfort, because that is the precursor to growth, and that's what I need to build the life that I want. It's really, really that simple. The hardest part of this journey for me so far is managing my lack of patience. Now, urgency is a really important thing, and urgency is the precursor to efficiency, in my opinion. If there is a need for urgency, there is a need for efficiency, and efficiency and high output leads to getting the result sooner. There is, however, a natural order to things, and you can't come into a new country, into a new professional environment and achieve your 6-month goals on day one. And actually what I'm learning is, like, the attainment of one thing, like, it's almost like leveling up in a game. Like, you can't be on level 4 until you pass through into level 2 and complete level 3. And I'm realizing that as I have these like little revelationary moments where I do this one thing and then the next thing makes sense. So it's kind of like being in a dark cave and just having a little candlelight. And all you need to do at first is just like try your best to be directionally correct, make a move. Oh shit, I hit a wall there. Okay, change direction. Oh sweet, okay, I'm making some progress here. Oh shit, I've hit another wall. Okay, let's change direction. And it's like just this process of things becoming apparent and obvious after I have moved in a direction which I believed was right. It's usually almost right, and then I make a little shift. And so my mind, my execution, my daily habits, my rituals, etc., everything I'm doing at the moment is an evolution. And I'm learning to manage, and I'm kind of seeing why that requires a lot of patience, and I'm learning to manage my expectations to be a little bit more kind of this mindset of everything is happening at the pace it should, or everything is happening as it should. So that's definitely the hardest thing, is just patience. And yeah, I struggle with that. How has it changed me mentally, physically, and emotionally? Well, mentally, I am so much more focused. I feel this sense of, if I'm going to be away from my family and I'm suffering that much being away from them and they're struggling through this as well, then I can't waste any time. Like, honestly, Monday to Friday, I live by the 15-minute blocks. I literally write down a couple of words after each, it sounds crazy, but after each 15 minutes, I'll be like, lead generation, content creation. I'll just make a little note, even if it's like showered, brushed my teeth, got changed. I don't want to be able to look back in that daily diary and see that I wasted any time. Because here's my mindset. It's a lot like on the bodybuilding prep stage, okay? So when you're preparing for a bodybuilding show, it's exactly the same. Your placing doesn't matter if you gave everything. And your placing means nothing, even if you win, if you didn't give everything. Okay, let me say that again in a more articulate manner. Winning means nothing if you gave anything short of everything. And placing second or third, or not winning, I should say, it's not a problem if you gave everything. And it's exactly the same with this endeavor. As long as I give my best, truly, then the very worst that can happen is I don't hit my markers first time around, but I will learn and I'll keep moving forwards. The worst outcome for me is that I don't succeed in the way that I want to, in the timeframes that I want to. And if I haven't put in the work and I can't see a track record of me putting in the work, I will hate myself for that. And eventually I'll come around to having compassion for myself. But the visceral response would be a deep sense of disappointment in myself. I told you guys this was going to be honest. Physically, yeah, I'm in a great routine with my training. I'm focusing much more on kind of health and balance and energy distribution. I want to have energy. I'm doing everything at the moment to optimize for settling in and growing the business and everything else, as opposed to optimizing for physique progression. Like, I'm very much in a maintenance mode, but I'm seeing a gradual improvement in my fitness and composition. I'm not destroying myself in the gym. I'm doing what's necessary to be able to have energy for content creation, for fulfillment for my clients, for calls, for everything else, for meeting people and being of good energy when I meet people. So I'm not like living like a bodybuilder in prep who's just solely focused on competing. Emotionally, it's very, very challenging. Again, I'm going to be super honest. I usually wake up in the morning feeling pretty low, missing my family, and then the second I get into my rhythm, the second I go, right, task one, I look at my diary and it's like, okay, task one, hydrate, get up, take creatine, take your vitamins and everything else. take your salts, etc. Get out there, get off for the walk, 30 minutes on the beach, back to the pier, back again. Okay, next up, shower. Next up, first meal. Okay, now lead generation, content creation. Then I'm good. I'm focused on the task at hand. But that first kind of, call it 4 or 5 minutes where I'm getting up and I'm like, I really feel this emptiness in my soul. I really, really do. And it's this emptiness of missing my family and not waking up next to Freya and not seeing that crazy little rat of mine, that little wolfie. You know, it's pretty miserable, I won't lie. We speak every day, you know, Freya and I Zoom every day. We have a video call in the evenings, often way too late, but I just love talking with her. So yeah, I mean, that's where I am emotionally. It's kind of very up and down. Positives, you know, when I'm meeting new people here, when I'm making new network connections, when I get a win over here, when I get that revelationary moment where I'm like, shit, yeah, that makes sense. Now we need to focus on this, and I need to upskill over here, and okay, we've automated this, and now I can. Those little wins, they feel amazing, and I love that. Also, just sometimes it hits me like, wow, I'm actually in the UAE. I'm in the Middle East. This is so cool. I get those moments too, and I just find myself just like shaking my head and smiling, just like, this is wicked. So yeah, there's that too. What's the biggest thing that I've learned about myself since taking the risk? Oh man, I don't know. I've learned that whether I think I can or can't do something, that when I don't have a choice, it gets done. But I kind of knew that anyway. I've been in lots of situations in the past, and it's kind of always been my mantra, is like, there are certain things that you're just not going to not get done. So, you know, okay, here's what I've learned. I've learned that I can test that hypothesis to the highest level and put the biggest things on the line, i.e., you know, putting up a lot of investment to be out here, a lot of like financial time, energy, emotion, etc. A huge amount of investment. I'm backing myself behind that philosophy of, I will figure this all out because I don't have a choice not to. That's what I've learned about myself. I'm learning the extent to which I can put it on the line and go for it. So I want to finish on this, guys, all right? So like, if you've been thinking about starting over for years, I think what really needs to happen is you need to reach that point where you're kind of sick of your own shit. And principally, you need to make a move even before you feel like you're ready to make a move. You need to almost be pushed into a situation, or push yourself into a situation where you're telling yourself, do you know what, I'll just have to figure it out. Do this only if there is that little nag in your voice that is repeatedly coming up. Like, if you want to do something and a month passes and you still want to do that thing, and then 6 months passes and you start telling people you're going to start doing that thing, you need to just make a move, the very first move. For me, after obviously speaking with Freya and, you know, us really being sure as a family that this was the thing to do, a commitment looks like putting some skin in the game and being accountable to somebody else. So for me, it was actually getting on a call with a visa agent, and really the turning point was parting money. Like, that was a contractual agreement that this was actually happening. I basically parted with a significant amount of money, which was the indicator of, okay, this ball is now in motion. I am now accountable to this person to provide the documents and everything else to get my ass over there. And once you take that first step, like, you have to move towards it. Okay, you have to make a move towards it, and it's the hardest thing to do. And you have to anticipate it being very difficult for a very long time. But you have to know that the upsides that will follow for the front-loaded stress, challenge, pain, whatever you want to call it, will absolutely be worth it. And you've also got to think about, like, what is the cost of inaction? Perhaps the biggest driver to actually taking that first step is to sit with that thought, really deeply sit with that thought of, okay, what's the cost here of inaction? What if I don't make a change? What if I don't do anything? What does life look like then? How is that going to feel? And that can usually be enough. If you really sit with that and think about that, that can usually be enough to make you pull the trigger. So 3 big changes that you can make today to make a big shift. Number 1 is figure out what that first step is. Number 2, if you're not going to do it today, set a deadline and tell yourself, if I don't do this by this day, it's not going to happen. And like, make it an ultimatum in your own mind. Like, put some skin in the game, hold yourself accountable, put some pressure, put a time scale on it, because otherwise you're just going to keep moving back and forth and sitting in comfort and avoiding the thing that eventually you're going to look back and be like, damn, I wish I did that sooner. I certainly feel that way. I actually tried to make this move in 2020. The day of my flight was lockdown. I shit you not. But since then, I've always found reasons for it, not to be the appropriate thing to do. Obviously, I started a family and all the rest of it. But you can justify it in any way, shape, or form. And that's the second thing I wanted to mention was remind yourself that you can absolutely continue to find reasons not to make the move, whatever that move is. And that's part of that kind of mental masturbation, that procrastination that is holding you back. So identify that, set a date, and have it in your mind, if I don't do it, then I'm never going to do it. And just usually that fear of oh, but that's actually a real consequence of me never doing this, could be enough. It will be enough to get you moving. How does coaching and accountability change the game? So look, coaching and accountability really is about follow through. It's really about let's assume you've made the move. The value of having a coach in your corner or a mentor is you're going to encounter challenges. The whole point of this is not to just grin and bear it the whole time and suffer needlessly. You need two things. You need someone that you can share your challenges with. For me, that's my missus. And you also need someone who can encourage you and push you and not let you off the hook. And that's really where a coach is very, very helpful. Someone who understands someone who is removed enough from your immediate friendship group and family, who can objectively look at you and tell you always, without any concerns, what needs to be said. Who can identify when you're letting yourself off the hook, who can call you out on your own shit, and who will always demand more from you, knowing that you're not even coming close to fulfilling your potential. That's what a great coach will do for you. And I think you'll struggle to get that. That's not really a familial thing. That's someone who's out, like I said, that needs to be someone who's outside, who is just brutally brought in to bring out the best in you, to encourage you, but also to call you out on your shit. So you need that love and support, ideally from your family, whether that's your wife or whether that's your parents or whatever. I also get a lot of emotional support from my parents as well as Freya. But you need a coach to call you out on your shit and to keep you moving and to prevent you from really bitching out. What's the difference between someone who transforms and someone who watches others do it? I think on a fundamental level, it's having balls. It's the bravery to take action, knowing that it's going to suck at first, that it's going to really hurt. And I think the difference is the people who actually make the change can justify the suck because they start to associate the suck with personal growth. It's just literally a framing difference. If you can learn to frame how flipping hard something is as the conditions for growth and the conduit towards a life that you really want, that is a difference, okay? Because the alternative is you identify the suck, the pain, the stress as the thing that you move away from. Either you identify it as something that you move towards, and these are the people that take action, because you know intellectually that it's going to take you to a better place eventually, or you identify as the guy who avoids the pain but risks long-term pain. It's either suffer now or suffer later. And that's a really good frame that you can present to yourself to actually elicit some level of action. So think on that one as well. So if anything I've said resonates and you're seeing yourself in any of these kind of explanations and experiences that I'm sharing with you, then maybe now is the actual time to draw the line. Hopefully this video will elicit some action for you. You're welcome to send me a message, okay? Just ping me a message or send me an email, julian@titanium-training.com. I'm here to help. I really want to help as many people. I want to help inspire action, and I want to build a community of men who get after it. Obviously, as you guys know, my thing is coaching. Specifically, I help out of shape men get into phenomenal shape and build immense levels of self-confidence and self-agency and discipline that enable them to really build the lives that they want. And I actually will credit a lot of what I'm doing now to the confidence and discipline that I've acquired through the fitness lifestyle. 95% of why I'm able to do this and make moves, and back myself are due to the lived-in proof of effort and reward, the confidence that comes with following through, keeping promises to yourself, that is required to build a physique and to build strength. So, reach out. I'm happy to help if it's talking about your next big move, or if you want to talk about what it looks like to develop the systems to build that confidence in yourself, then just reach out, okay? But keep following the journey. There'll be another episode each week. If you haven't already, like and subscribe. I sound like a YouTuber now. Like and subscribe to this channel, and the edits will get better. It's going to get sexier. For now, it's pretty raw, but hey, it's honest. All right, guys. Peace.